Welcome to Pedia World, your ultimate destination for powerful book summaries, life-changing ideas, and practical knowledge. Let's dive into today's book. Have you ever wondered why some people earn a lot of money and still struggle financially, while others with average incomes quietly build lasting wealth? Why one person panics when the market drops, while another sees opportunity? Why we say we want to save in Abi, but still end up spending? The answer isn't just about numbers. It's not about complicated formulas or secret investment strategies. It's about psychology. Welcome to this book summary of the psychology of money. Master your mind, master your wealth. Money touches every part of our lives. It affects our freedom, our relationships, our stress levels, and even our self-worth. Yet no one really teaches us how to think about money. In school, we learn math. We learn history, we learn science, but we rarely learn how our emotions, beliefs, and habits shape our financial decisions. And that's exactly where the real story begins. This book is not about getting rich quickly. It's not about stock tips or shortcuts. Instead, it explores something far more powerful: the way we think, feel, and behave around money. Because the truth is, financial success is less about intelligence and more about behavior. You don't need to be a genius to build wealth. You need discipline, you need patience, and most importantly, you need self-awareness. Think about this for a moment. Two people can have the same income, the same opportunities, and access to the same information. Yet years later, their financial lives look completely different. One feels trapped, stressed, always chasing more. The other feels secure, calm, and in control. What made the difference? It wasn't luck alone. It was mindset. Money decisions are rarely made on spreadsheets. They're made at the dinner table. They're made during moments of fear. They're made when we compare ourselves to others. They're made when we try to impress, when we try to prove something, or when we're simply afraid of losing what we have. Behind every financial choice, there's a story, a belief, an emotion. In this summary, we'll explore how your personal history shapes your money habits, how your upbringing, your struggles, and even your past mistakes influence the way you save, spend, and invest. We'll talk about why patience is one of the most underrated financial skills in the world, why controlling your ego can be more valuable than chasing high returns, and why mastering your mind is the ultimate key to mastering your wealth. You'll discover why time is the most powerful force in building money, and why so many people underestimate it. You'll understand how small, consistent actions can create massive long-term results. And most importantly, you'll learn that wealth is not just about what you see. It's not the car, the house, or the brand. True wealth is what you don't see: the savings, the freedom, the options, the ability to sleep peacefully at night. This book reminds us that getting rich and staying wealthy are two very different skills. Getting rich often requires bold moves and risk-taking. Staying wealthy requires humility, caution, and long-term thinking. And in a world that constantly pushes us to show off, to upgrade, to compete, choosing patience can feel uncomfortable, but it is powerful. As you listen to this summary, I want you to reflect on your own relationship with money. Not with judgment, but with curiosity. What stories have you been telling yourself about wealth? What fears have been guiding your decisions? What habits are silently shaping your future? Because at the end of the day, money is not just about earning more. It's about becoming more. More disciplined, more patient, more emotionally intelligent. When you master your mind, you naturally begin to master your wealth. So take a deep breath, relax, and let's dive into the psychology behind money and discover how changing the way you think can completely transform the way you build wealth. Money begins in the mind. Let me ask you something personal. What did you learn about money when you were growing up? Maybe you heard phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "Rich people are greedy," or maybe even, "We can't afford that." Those small sentences might have seemed harmless at the time, but they quietly shape the way you see money today. Before money ever touches your bank account, it lives in your mind. Every financial decision you make is filtered through your beliefs, your past experiences, and your emotions. Two people can look at the exact same opportunity and react completely differently. One sees possibility, the other sees danger. One invests calmly during a market crash. The other panics and sells everything. Why? Because money decisions are not driven by logic alone. They are driven by stories. Each of us carries a unique money story. It is written by our childhood environment, our parents' struggles or successes, our early mistakes, and even the society we grew up in. If you grew up in scarcity, you might hold tightly to every rupee, fearing loss at every step. If you grew up watching people spend freely, you might associate money with status and approval. Neither is right or wrong. They are simply learned behaviors. The powerful truth is this: you don't make financial decisions based on facts. You make them based on how you feel about those facts. Imagine someone offers you an investment that has historically grown over time, but comes with short-term ups and downs. Logically, it makes sense. But if you've experienced loss before, your brain remembers the pain. It whispers, "Be careful, what if you lose again?" And suddenly your decision is emotional, not rational. This is why mastering money begins with mastering your mind. We often believe that wealth is built by intelligence. But history shows something different. There are highly educated people who struggle financially, and average individuals who quietly build fortune. The difference is behavior. And behavior is controlled by psychology. One of the biggest psychological traps is comparison. In today's world, we constantly see what others have: bigger homes, better vacations, newer cars. Social media shows us highlight reels, not reality. And slowly, without even realizing it, we begin to measure our financial success against someone else's lifestyle. But what we don't see is their debt, their stress, or their sacrifices. When you compare, you lose clarity. When you lose clarity, you lose control. Another hidden force is ego. Sometimes we don't spend money because we need something. We spend because we want to feel important. We invest aggressively because we want to look smart. We take risks because we want to prove something to others or even to ourselves. But ego-driven money decisions often lead to regret. True financial growth requires emotional control. It requires the ability to pause and ask, am I making this decision from logic or from fear, from confidence or from insecurity? Self-awareness is your first financial superpower. In this chapter, the core lesson is simple but life-changing. Before you try to grow your money, understand your relationship with it. Notice your triggers. Observe your spending habits. Pay attention to what makes you anxious and what makes you feel secure. You don't need to change everything overnight. You simply need to become conscious. Because once you recognize that money is deeply emotional, you stop blaming circumstances alone. You stop thinking, if only I earned more. Instead, you start thinking, how can I think better? When you improve the way you think about money, your decisions slowly improve. When your decisions improve, your habits change. And when your habits change, your future changes. Money begins in the mind. And if you truly want to master your wealth, this is where your journey must start. The hidden emotions behind every dollar. Let's be honest for a moment. Have you ever made a money decision that you later regretted? Maybe you bought something expensive just to feel good. Maybe you sold an investment too early because you were afraid. Or maybe you avoided checking your bank account because you didn't want to face reality. If you have, you're not alone. We all do it. The truth is, money decisions are rarely just about money. They are about emotions, fear, greed, pride, envy, security, status, hope. Every dollar you earn, spend, save, or invest carries an emotional weight that most people never stop to examine. Fear is one of the strongest forces in financial life. Fear of losing money, fear of missing out, fear of not having enough. Fear can protect you, but it can also paralyze you. During a market crash, fear convinces people to sell at the worst possible time. During uncertain times, Fear pushes people to hold cash and avoid opportunities that could help them grow. Fear whispers worst-case scenarios, and when emotions are high, logic becomes quiet. But fear isn't the only emotion at play. Greed is just as powerful. When markets are rising and everyone seems to be making money, something shifts inside us. We don't want to be left behind. We hear stories of quick profits, overnight success, massive gains. Suddenly, patience feels boring. Slow growth feels disappointing. We want more, and we want it now. That's when greed steps in, not as a loud villain, but as a subtle voice saying, just a little more. Greed convinces people to take risks they don't fully understand. It pushes them to ignore warning signs. And often, just when confidence feels strongest, reality strikes. Then there's pride. Pride makes us hold on to bad investments because we don't want to admit we were wrong. Pride stops us from asking for financial advice. Pride makes us believe we can outsmart the system. But the market doesn't reward pride. It rewards discipline and humility. Envy is another silent driver. When we see someone living a lifestyle we admire, it can trigger something deep inside us. We start spending not because we need something, but because we want to feel equal. We upgrade our phones, our cars, our clothes, not always for comfort, but for comparison. The problem is, envy is an endless race. There will always be someone with more. And then there's security, the most misunderstood emotion of all. For some people, security means saving every extra dollar and avoiding all risks. For others, security means building multiple income streams. For someone else, it might mean owning a home, no matter the cost. We all define financial safety differently, based on our past experiences. But sometimes what feels safe emotionally isn't always the smartest move logically. Understanding these emotions doesn't make you weak. It makes you aware. When you begin to recognize what you're feeling in the moment, whether it's fear during a dip or excitement during a rise, you create space between emotion and action. And in that space lies power. The most successful investors and wealth builders are not emotionless robots. They feel fear. They feel excitement. They feel uncertainty. The difference is that they don't let those emotions control their decisions. They create systems. They set rules. They commit to long-term thinking, especially when emotions are intense. Money amplifies who you already are. If you are impatient, money will expose it. If you are insecure, money will magnify it. If you are disciplined, money will reward it. So the real question is not, how can I earn more? The deeper question is, how do I respond emotionally to money? When you master your emotional responses, you stop reacting and start deciding. You stop chasing and start planning. You stop proving and start building. Behind every financial outcome is an emotional choice. And once you understand the emotions behind your money, you begin to take back control, not just of your finances, but of your future. Habits that build wealth. Silently. Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. Wealth is rarely built in one big moment. It's not usually one lucky investment, one viral business idea, or one sudden breakthrough. Real, lasting wealth is built quietly, slowly, through habits that almost look boring from the outside. And that's exactly why so many people miss it. We live in a world that celebrates dramatic success stories. We hear about overnight millionaires, massive stock wins, and fast business growth. But what we don't see are the small daily decisions that happened long before the spotlight. The early mornings, the disciplined saving, the consistent investing, the quiet patience. Wealth doesn't shout, it whispers. The first silent habit of wealth building is consistency. Not intensity, not excitement. Consistency. It's saving a small percentage of your income every single month, even when it feels insignificant. It's investing regularly, even when the market feels uncertain. It's sticking to your plan when others are distracted by trends. At first, the results seem invisible. You might look at your savings and think, this isn't much. But consistency compounds. Just like small daily workouts transform a body over time, small financial habits transform your future. The magic is not in doing something big once. The magic is in doing something small again and again. The second powerful habit is living below your means. This sounds simple, but emotionally it's difficult. Because living below your means requires you to ignore comparison. It requires you to say no when others say yes. It requires you to choose long-term freedom over short-term validation. Many people increase their lifestyle the moment their income increases. New salary, new car, business growth, bigger house. But wealth builders think differently. When income grows, they increase their investments before they increase their expenses. They understand that income makes you rich, but behavior makes you wealthy. Another silent habit is patience. Patience is uncomfortable. We want results now. We want progress we can see and celebrate. But money grows best with time. The longer it stays invested, the more powerful compounding becomes. Time does the heavy lifting, but only if you allow it to work. Think of compounding like planting a tree. In the beginning, you see nothing but soil. It feels like nothing is happening. But underground, roots are forming. Strength is building. If you dig it up every week to check its growth, you destroy it. Investing works the same way. Constantly reacting, constantly moving money, constantly chasing, it interrupts growth. Another habit that builds wealth silently is emotional discipline. Creating automatic systems helps. Automate your savings. Automate your investments. Reduce the number of decisions you have to make each month. Because the fewer emotional choices you make, the fewer mistakes you'll make. We often believe that building wealth requires extreme intelligence. But more often, it requires avoiding extreme behavior. Not panicking during downturns. Not becoming overconfident during booms. Not trying to impress others with visible success. And here's something important. True wealth is often invisible. The person driving a modest car but owning investments and assets may be wealthier than the person displaying luxury but carrying heavy debt. Real wealth is the money you don't spend. It's the choices you don't show off. It's the flexibility you quietly build. Habits shape identity. When you consistently save, you begin to see yourself as someone who is disciplined. When you invest regularly, you begin to see yourself as someone who thinks long-term. And when your identity changes, your decisions follow naturally. So instead of asking, "How can I get rich quickly?" start asking, "What small habit can I repeat for the next 10 years?" Because wealth is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in ordinary days, in calm decisions, in patience, in discipline, in choosing tomorrow over today, again and again. The habits may look small, they may feel slow, but over time, they become unstoppable. Risk, patience, and the power of time. Let's talk about something that makes almost everyone uncomfortable: risk. The word itself can create tension. Some people hear risk and think opportunity. Others hear it and feel fear. But here's the truth. Risk is not the enemy of wealth. Misunderstanding risk is. Every financial decision involves risk. Keeping your money in cash carries risk. Investing in the market carries risk. Starting a business carries risk. Even doing nothing carries risk. The risk of inflation slowly reducing your purchasing power. The risk of missed opportunities, the risk of staying stuck. The goal is not to avoid risk completely. The goal is to understand it, manage it, and respect it. One of the biggest mistakes people make is confusing volatility with risk. When the market goes up and down, it feels dangerous. The headlines scream panic. Social media amplifies fear. And suddenly, temporary movement feels like permanent loss. But volatility is normal. It's the price you pay for long-term growth. Real risk is not short-term fluctuation. Real risk is making emotional decisions that damage your long-term plan. Patience is what transforms risk into reward. In a world built on instant gratification, patience feels almost outdated. We expect fast deliveries, fast replies, fast results. But money doesn't work that way. The most powerful force in wealth building is time. And time only rewards those who stay in the game. Think about this. If you invest consistently over decades, even modest returns can grow into something extraordinary. Not because of brilliance, not because of perfect timing, but because of compounding. Compounding is quiet at first, almost invisible, but over time it becomes unstoppable. The problem is, most people interrupt compounding. They jump in and out. They chase trends. They try to time the market. They get impatient when growth feels slow, and every time they reset the clock, they reduce the magic of time. Time needs stability. It needs commitment. There's a powerful idea here. Survival is success. You don't need to be the smartest investor. You don't need to catch every opportunity. You simply need to survive long enough for time to work in your favor. Avoid catastrophic mistakes. Avoid overconfidence. Avoid risking everything for short-term gains. The people who build lasting wealth are often the ones who stay consistent and avoid destruction. And let's talk about uncertainty. The future will always be uncertain. There will be recessions, market crashes, unexpected events, economic shifts. No one can predict them perfectly. Trying to eliminate uncertainty is impossible, but preparing for it is wise. That's where margin of safety comes in. Don't stretch your finances to the edge. Don't invest money you might urgently need. Leave room for mistakes. Leave room for surprises. Financial flexibility reduces stress and increases resilience. Patience is not passive. It's active discipline. It's choosing not to react when emotions rise. It's sticking to your strategy when others panic. It's continuing to invest when headlines are negative. It's trusting long-term data over short-term noise. And here's something important. Time also magnifies behavior. If your financial habits are strong, time multiplies your results. If your habits are careless, time multiplies your mistakes. Small errors repeated for years become big problems. Small, smart decisions repeated for years become financial freedom. The power of time is neutral. It simply amplifies what you give it. So instead of asking, "How can I double my money this year?" ask, "How can I position myself to grow steadily over the next 20 years?" That shift in thinking changes everything. Risk will always exist. Uncertainty will never disappear. But when you combine smart risk management with patience and long-term thinking, you give yourself the greatest advantage available. Because in the end, wealth is less about dramatic moves and more about enduring wisely. Stay disciplined, stay patient, respect risk, trust time, and let time do what it does best. Quietly build what impatience never could. Master your mind, multiply your money. At this point, everything comes back to one simple truth. Money is a mirror. It reflects your mindset, your habits, your patience, your fears, and your discipline. If you truly want to multiply your money, you must first master your mind. Because wealth is not just a financial journey, it's a personal one. Most people focus on external strategies. Which stock to buy, which business to start, which trend to follow. But the real transformation happens internally. It happens when you shift from reacting emotionally to responding intentionally. It happens when you stop chasing money and start building character. Your identity shapes your income more than you realize. If you see yourself as someone who is bad with money, your actions will confirm that belief. If you see yourself as someone who is disciplined, patient, and long-term focused, your behavior will slowly align with that identity. The story you tell yourself about money becomes your financial reality. So ask yourself honestly, who are you becoming in your financial life? Are you becoming reactive or calm? Impulsive or thoughtful? Short-term focused or long-term committed? Mastering your mind means developing emotional control. It means recognizing when fear is trying to push you into a bad decision. It means noticing when ego wants to impress others. It means pausing before spending, before investing, before reacting. That pause is powerful. In that small space between emotion and action, you regain control. And control is the foundation of wealth. Another key shift is understanding the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich is visible. It's income. It's lifestyle. It's spending. Wealth, on the other hand, is invisible. It's assets. It's investments. It's financial independence. It's the ability to choose how you spend your time. Many people focus on looking successful. Few focus on being secure. True wealth gives you options. The option to walk away from a toxic job. The option to spend time with family. The option to take risks without fear of survival. And those options come not from showing off, but from silent discipline over many years. Mastering your mind also means redefining what enough means for you. If you don't define enough, the world will define it for you. And the world will always tell you it's more income, bigger house, better car, higher status. But if you are constantly chasing more without clarity, you will never feel satisfied, no matter how much you earn. Financial peace comes from clarity, from knowing your values, from aligning your money with what truly matters to you. And here's the most empowering part. You don't need perfection. You don't need to avoid every mistake. You don't need to predict every market move. You simply need to commit to growth, to self-awareness, to steady improvement. Small improvements in thinking lead to massive improvements in results over time. When you master your impulses, you save more. When you master your fear, you invest wisely. When you master your ego, you avoid unnecessary risks. When you master your patience, you unlock compounding. Money multiplies what you already are. So if you become more disciplined, money multiplies discipline. If you become more patient, money multiplies patience. This is not just about building wealth in your bank account. It's about building strength in your character. Because at the end of the day, the greatest financial advantage you can have is emotional stability. Calm during chaos, confidence during uncertainty, humility during success. Master your thoughts, master your behavior, master your identity. And when you truly master your mind, multiplying your money becomes a natural result. Not a stressful chase, but a steady, intentional journey toward. Books can change your mindset, and mindset can change your life. Subscribe to Pedia World and keep growing. See you soon.